G'day and welcome to Hard Report Rewind. My name's Tony, and yep, we got another new YouTube channel. Is it going to be the same as what you see out there? Who knows? I don't know. I'm not too sure where this is going to take us, but hopefully we will offer something a little bit different. Thank you. I just want to start off by saying thank you to those who actually watched the two cheesy videos that I posted over the last couple of weeks. They were not meant to be anything serious. They were just more me playing around with some editing software and seeing how things work and upload. So, end of story. There was nothing serious in those. They were just me having some fun and just seeing how things work with some software. So, on to what this channel will sort of produce, I suppose. I don't know how you call this, but what the content, I guess, that we'll be sharing on this channel. So going back for about a decade between 1994 and 2004, I was really fortunate enough to work on a local metal show here in Melbourne, Australia. It was a metal show that ran for 4 hours, and it was a weekly metal show, and it was, it was pretty fantastic. And in that time, as you can imagine, over 10 years, both myself and my co-host, one being Andrew Hove, you can check out his 24-hour streaming sort of channel down below. It's 24-hour, 7-day-a-week metal. Click on that link and check it out. It's pretty cool. Both him and I, and also Lou, Uncle Lou, who later moved on, but we had a really fantastic time in interviewing some of the biggest bands in metal right across the world, and we're talking about bands like Robb Flynn from Machine Head, Fenris from Dark Throne, all the guys from Metallica were interviewed at some stage, all the guys from Pantera have been interviewed, Ozzy Chuck from Death, Exodus. It just goes on and on and on. And going back probably around about 6 months ago, right in the middle of lockdown, I was going through a box of old stuff here at home in my spare time, and came across all my interviews, and on both mini disc, some are on DAT, and also some are on cassette tape. Well, what am I going to do with this sort of stuff? I mean, it's just sitting around here. It's sitting in a box. Is it one of those things where you just kick under the bed again, or is it something that you kind of put up here and share? So, I guess in that time, and while we have been in lockdown for just about 2 years, as you know, Melbourne has been the most locked down city in the world. You got a lot of time to watch a lot of YouTube and watch a lot of stuff on TV. So, which kind of led me to watching some YouTube channels, and one in particular really stood out for me. It's just really lo-fi, and I really like it. It's just switch your camera on, which is what this will be, and just record yourself. Oh, excuse me. And that was Metal Mickey. You can check his link down below. And he gave me some really, really sound advice, which is fantastic, and it's a really cool channel. So we're going to be really keeping things as simple as possible here, which is fantastic. Now, not only will I be playing some interviews and so on and so forth for you guys to watch, you will be joined by my wonderful co-host who worked alongside myself for around about 2 or 3 years towards the end of the Hard Report, and his name's Justin. Now, Justin, going back quite a few years ago, and at the time there around the early 2000s, was a journalist, a writer for a local weekly street magazine by the name of Beat. Very similar to the Village Voice for anybody out there who might be sort of interested. And he was the metal columnist back then who wrote a lot of all of the content and did a lot of the interviews for Beat magazine. So it's fantastic. And I got him on board for around three years, I think, towards the end there of the Hard Report, and we had a lot of fun. So Justin will be joining me from time to time on this channel, and we'll be doing some sort of little light-hearted. We're going to have some light-hearted discussions about certain topics that might be going on, within metal these days. And on alternate weeks, the plan will be, well, hopefully eventually we'll run some polls and stuff and see whether, you guys are interested, what interviews you guys want to hear and what you want me to upload and so on, because there is quite a long list of over 100 sort of bands that I've interviewed, or over 100 interviews that I've done with international bands alone. So the first one I'm going to share with you today is the very first interview I did back in July 1994. Well, I co-interviewed this particular gentleman, and all I've got to say is, yes, I've rattled off some fantastic and wonderful and really, really big names in metal. And you're probably wondering, why am I picking this person who is an extremely polarizing individual within the metal community? For me, I guess I was a little bit of a fanboy at the time of what he had done previously, which was he was a guitarist for Violence, who were probably one of my favourite bands of all time, along with Forbidden Evil, and that's of course Robb Flynn from Machine Head. So had the opportunity with Uncle Lou, who is the main host of the Hard Report going way back to early '94, and Lou sort of I joined him on the interview, and this was the first interview I actually did in '94, and we'll play that in a minute. Please comment down below, click like, subscribe, and all that sort of stuff. Let us know what you think. Let us know if this was too long or boring or anything like that, and we'll work on things. This will evolve as time goes on, so please comment, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do. You can also find us on Hard Report Rewind on Facebook, so go over there and follow us on Facebook. And let's kick into the very first interview that I did with Robb Flynn in '94. So we're going to kick off with myself asking Robb what some of the lyrical content is about on Burn My Eyes. See you in a couple of weeks or next week. Thanks.
It's like a lot of the lyrics deal with, personal stuff that I've been through. A lot of the lyrics deal with my opinions on stuff, and if a lot of it's mad, well, the band is basically a vehicle for us to express, our emotions in any way, be it if it's just pure anger or pure rage or sorrow or whatever. It's a vehicle for us to do that in a positive way, as opposed to taking out our anger, by fighting every weekend or, whatever, like we used to do.
Yeah, some of the riffing on the album, especially the faster stuff, seems to have a very mid-'80s Bay Area sort of feel to it, mixed in with a heavy '90s groove. Is that something you guys purposely intended on doing, or is it just something that come naturally?
To some point, it was something that we purposely tried to do. We were just trying to incorporate a little bit of old with a little bit of new, and just like give people something different to trip on that might not maybe have ever tripped off it.
Yeah.
Well, if I was to say to you, Rob, that it's really pleasing for me to hear a bombastic, bloody heavy metal record again. I think metal's gone a bit quiet since all this grunge sort of stuff has come along. Do you think that you're going to open the doors a bit for a bit of true metal sort of to come back?
Let's hope so. When we started, basically our goal was to go against everything that was the norm at the time. And when we started, grunge was huge, and every single band in the Bay Area wanted to be like either A, Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam, or B, Metallica and Testament, and all those bands that I named are all great bands in their own respects, but nobody wanted to push, that boundary anymore. Nobody wanted to push the limits. Those bands set the standard, and nobody wanted to go past that. And we wanted to go past that. We wanted to be the exact opposite wanted to be ultra heavy. You know, we wanted to be noisy. We wanted to be sloppy. And, you know, I'm really glad that, you know, we stuck true to our hearts and stuck true to our original goals, because, you know, now you know, we can honestly say that it was worth it.
Well, I was also going to ask you, Rob, now that you've touched on the Bay Area subject, what's basically happened with the metal scene in the Bay Area over the last few years? Because it certainly seemed to have died in the arse a little.
Yeah, it died pretty much completely. You know, like I said, everybody wanted to be like that, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, Metallica's a great band, but who needs 20 of them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like nobody just wanted to push that boundary anymore. And, you know, I honestly have to say, you know, that Machine Head has definitely given this town a much-needed kick in the ass. You know, and as cocky as that sounds, I think it's ultimately a good thing, because the scene is starting to come. You know, we came out of relative obscurity to now be one of the biggest drawing bands in the Bay Area. So I think that's pretty good.
What sort of gigs have you been doing so far since the band's been formed?
What type of gigs? You mean like played with what type of band?
Yeah, and how big have they been and that sort of thing?
Well, we played with death metal bands. We played with hardcore bands. We played with hip-hop bands. We played with, you know, just regular metal bands.
What hip-hop bands have you played with?
We played with this crew called the Hieroglyphics and Fungo Mungo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you ever heard. I'm sure you probably heard of Fungo Mungo.
Yeah.
They're like a funk band, but there was this other band that opened the show, and they were like a hip-hop band. And it was cool, you know. It's like they opened it, we supported, and then Fungo played. And, you know, for what it was worth, it went over really good, you know, because we kind of got, like, groove in our music and shit. And, you know, we had people going off, jumping up and down and shit. It was cool.
So is this in clubs like the Stone? Is that still going on?
Yeah, the Stone's closed down now, but
Right.
that specific show that I was just talking about was actually at the Stone.
Thanks, Rob.
I'd heard, Rob, that you know, about a year or so ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, there was some actual violence on stage between a few of the members in Violence. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on that for us?
Why don't you elaborate a little bit more about what you heard, and I'll tell you.
I just heard that Sean Killian copped a bass over the head at one of the gigs there.
That he caught a bass over there?
Yeah, and a nice punch to the head.
From who?
Bell, I think. D. Bell.
Phil? No. I mean, maybe this happened after I wasn't in the band, but I didn't hear nothing about that, and nothing like that happened when I was in the band. I mean, fucking, we had fought with people before, like, from the stage, but, you know, that was always, like, fighting somebody else, like the members of Violence fighting with somebody else that was in the crowd.
Yeah. What was the main reason for you actually leaving Violence?
There's a few things that came into play. I was having a lot of problems with the members. You know, Violence was never a close band by any stretch of the word. And, you know, they wanted to go in a completely different direction, and I didn't want to go in the direction that they wanted to go. You know, I basically wanted to start Machine Head, and I started Machine Head while I was in Violence. And it just took off, and it, you know, started doing, it was exactly what I wanted to do. You know, I knew I wanted to sing. I knew I could sing. I knew the songs that I was writing were good. I just needed somebody, you know, I needed people who were into it and were into it to do it, you know. And also, you know, I was having a lot of problems in my life as well. You know, I was fighting every weekend and just going out and causing a lot of problems, and I had gotten into some problems with this gang of people who lived like down the way a little bit, and you know, they basically were after me for something that they thought I did, and so I had to lay low for a while too.
Right. Well, Rob, just for the Violence fans in Australia who perhaps are trying to work out, you know, exactly what happened. We don't want to harp on Violence too much, but what direction were they trying to go in?
that Metallica Seattle direction,
Right.
and it was pathetic.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that.
Okay. Some of your no, we won't ask that one because we've already touched on that. Let's talk about some of the tracks on the album. Nation on Fire. Has that got anything to do with the fires that took place in the California area?
No.
No, it hasn't. What's it about, Rob?
It's basically just like my take on the world, or not the world in general, but actually this nation. I haven't really seen the rest of the world, so I can't really speak about it. I can only speak of what I know, but it's just a commentary on this nation, a world that spends more to kill than to cure.
Because we haven't seen the lyrics yet, Rob. We haven't got a decent lyric sheet or anything.
Yeah.
But this is why we're sort of asking.
Cool.
Another track that's got an interesting title, perhaps you could give us a bit of a rundown of the reasons why the title was picked anyway. Realize, Realize, Realize.
That song is basically, our stance on racism. It's got the three titles in the name because the song actually goes in three parts. The first part kind of talks about like the aftermath of the Rodney King riots, because the Rodney King riots happened all over. They happened in Oakland, they happened in New York, Detroit, everywhere, and talks about that. The middle part talks about it's got like ignorant views from black people and really extreme views from white people. Both ignorant in their own rights. And then at the end, the last part kind of talks about like our stance on where we stand. Not every black man robs and steals. America's got to go through some type of radical change.
Was that the O.J. Simpson sort of things that have been going on over there at the moment, Rob? How has the band reacted to that sort of thing?
The O.J. Simpson thing?
Yeah.
I don't know. We just kind of joke about it. It's funny, to us. It's like, it was just like so like unbelievably over the top. Unfortunately, I was out of the country when all that went down. I was in Europe doing promo, and so I kind of missed exactly what happened. But I mean, it's just like I came back to America and it was just like everywhere. Like every magazine I looked at had like O.J. Simpson on the cover.
It's the same here.
Huh?
It's the same here, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever. If he's guilty, he's guilty. I wouldn't be surprised. He's a crazed, huge man.
Will you guys be actually shooting a promo film clip at all?
Yeah, we already did. We did it for the first song, Davidian.
Yep. And what was that in? Was it set live or was it actually a something rehearsed? And
it's got some location stuff and it's got some live stuff too. It's got a couple of concepts in it. It turned out really good. We did a good portion of it in this place called Shooter's Alley, which is in Oakland, in East Oakland, which is like a little bit down the way from us. We live in Oakland, and this place is called Shooter's Alley, and it's like where everybody goes to shoot their guns. That's why it's called Shooter's Alley. And it's like covered from like 20 feet up to the floor with like spray paint. There's like train tracks and all this stuff, and like these two walls that just go for miles. And we shot some of the video there, and then we did some other stuff like around Oakland, and then we filmed a show that we played the day after at a club called the On Broadway, which is in San Francisco, and it turned out really good.
Yeah. Just going back to gig-wise, you guys are playing at the Foundation Forum in about 3 weeks' time from now.
Yeah.
With Biohazard and CIC and etc. etc. I'm just wondering, what exactly is the Foundation Forum? Will it give you real good exposure?
Well, it's basically, like every single major, it's a convention, and representatives from magazines from all over the world and representatives from different record companies and different touring agencies and stuff like that. I mean, it gives you a lot of exposure to like people that probably would normally never see you, like industry people, business people. And, it's kind of cool to be playing it on the one hand because there's going to be so many killer bands to be there, and play with. on the other hand, it's kind of like weird because you are playing to like a bunch of industry people who, you know, will probably never buy your CD and will not be like participating in, you know, doing any slam dancing or stage diving. So it's like those are the pros and cons of it.
Yeah. Tour-wise, have you got anything once the album's out to promote the album?
Yeah, we're going out on tour on August 15th with Obituary and Napalm Death, and we're doing a North American tour.
Geez, that'd be interesting, that would. How about Europe? Are you going to tap into Europe at all and tour?
Yeah, we're going to be, hopefully, if all goes as planned, when we end this Napalm Death tour, we'll be going over to Europe. But it's, you know, it stands to be seen.
Yeah.
Have you heard the new Obituary record yet, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah. So what music have you been listening to lately, just generally?
I've been listening to the new Madball. I really like that.
Haven't heard them much. Where are they from?
They're from New York. They're a hardcore band from New York.
Right.
I've been listening to this band called the Wu-Tang Clan. They're like a hip-hop crew.
I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, I really like them. I've been listening to the new Biohazard. I really like the new Biohazard.
Yeah.
This band from North Sweden called Meshuggah, which I love. They're like amazing.
Yeah.
You probably never heard of them.
We've played them on the show, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're killer.
Yeah.
Let me see, what else have I been listening to? Neurosis, that band Neurosis I was telling you about.
Yes.
They're really good. There's a band called Level from around here that's really good that I've been tripping off of a lot. They're cool.
Are they getting an album out or anything? Or?
I think they might be getting signed to Roadrunner, but I'm not sure right now. There's another band called Penalty that's out of they're out of New Orleans, and it features the ex-singer of, God, what are they called? Ex-Hoarder.
Oh, yes.
And they're really good. They're like killer.
Oh, we love Ex-Hoarder, man.
Yeah. Well, this new stuff isn't like Ex-Hoarder at all, but it's pretty killer.
All right. Cool. And just while we wrap up, Rob, I just want to ask you if you've seen the new Schwarzenegger film True Lies yet, and what's it like?
I loved it. I thought it was great.
We're hanging out for it.
Huh?
We're hanging out for it.
We're hanging out for it?
Yeah. We love Arnie. We love Arnie.
Oh, yeah?
All right, Rob.
It's killer, man. I was like, it's like so unbelievably over the top that you just can't even believe it. You know, it's just like, there's just like so much action that it's like humorous. But they you know, they know that it's humorous and they like play along with it through the movie. It's a good movie. I liked it. I had a hell of a good time.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Got any more questions, Tony?
No, I don't actually. Is there anything you'd like to say to any of the people out there?
Oh, good one. Yeah.
Machine Head's gonna lay waste to Australia.